We are going to go at lightning speed today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have your coffee ready. Hope your haircut is finished. I got the haircut. I've been to the gym. My God. I tell you, the gym, the reverie, when you're at the height of the exercise, when you achieve escape velocity, I just have so many thoughts that come into my head. I thought to myself, this is for all time. Artist Journal, February 6, 2023, broadcasting from Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great weekend. Check out what I saw on the weekend. Maybe some of you saw this. I mean, it's just, here, let me start it. Look at this. This beautiful, beautiful work here. This is by Goyong Arts, and it is of sheep in a field, a pastoral scene. Kind of gave me a couple of kind of thoughts. I mean, look at how beautiful the grass is. First of all, it kind of has a bit of that Hockney feel with kind of like these dots, these kind of patches of color, and then the dots of color inside. And then there's also even, I'd argue, a touch of George Seurat's like divisionism here, or pointillism. I think they called it divisionism. Anyway, in the rendition of this grass here, and then you see up close this beautiful digital strokes here. So the color is awesome. The strategy really is awesome. That's really what I wanted to get to on this, the strategy. And what I love is this kind of the focal point is maybe this area here, although the sheep, you could argue, is the focal point here. But you have this area of movement here. And what I particularly love about Goyong Art's work is you see how the pixels here are moving and here it's static. I mean, to me, this is a very poetic situation here. Something that's hard to put into words, that you could never describe. I guess you could describe this, but it would not have the same effect. So anyways, a really just fascinating work from an artist I didn't know of. Maybe a lot of you already know who this is. Goyong Arts, also known as probably just Goyong on their page. GreekDX picked this up. GreekDX is actually the first person to bid on one of my works when I went to Super Rare, so shout out to GreekDX. He is still collecting, and he picked this up for 2 ETH. Interesting little write-up here. Worth mentioning as we like to discuss human nature here. In my opinion, eating may be the strongest behavior. We can't cheer up unless we eat. Maybe the act of eating is more powerful than exercising, fighting, or any action. Mealtime is a work that makes you feel comfortable, but it's probably the most energetic work. By the way, they don't seem to want to go home. Anyway, it's just a stunning work here. So original. So original. And here is some of Goyong's other art here. So Conquest of Dimension, not too much information there, but you see they've sold out of everything. And this last one here, I brought it up, and it's also just a stunner. Pairs very nicely with the other landscape we were just looking at. Let me get the volume on it. And actually, so you can just hear the outdoor area. And again, the pixelation is moving here, but solid here and static. So just kind of interesting. Let me actually, before we move on, let me play, I don't know if let me play the volume so you get the full piece here. So anyway, hilarious. I wonder, did they record that on the scene or did they buy a sample? I wonder how they got that audio. Anyways, Meghan and Harry, I put out a new work. Now I have a tiny bit more time. So now I'm having fun here. So this came out, Pixel Art Sketchbook. Debatable whether it's pixel art after our recent discussion. This went to Weary Squirrel at auction for $95. Thank you to all the other bidders, including Uczine, which was great, and Runetune, and Billy Joe. So thanks, guys. That was awesome, and just make me feel great over here. And there were also other sales. I mean, it was a wonderful weekend for sales for me, actually. Kite flying at Tempelhof, this sold on secondary, and this went to AE10U. And that went for 15. And yeah, I keep meaning to come back to this series as well. This is out on Versum. This is a very fun series, and sold a bunch of 8-Bit Nature series works as well. And this went a few to the anonymous collector, unanonymous collector picked up a few. And there's some really nice secondary sales as well. 10 Tezos for the rainbow, 7 for the sunset, and 9 for the cloud. So this is really exciting and fun. So anyways, the fun continues over here for the most part. Let me get to something that's not... So this is a mix of fun and not so fun. So Claire Silver had a AI art contest, and our good friend Eile, who many of you know, who writes the summaries and tags everybody, and who has done that in the past, she entered the contest with her new AI artwork, and I think she came in second with this work here. And I actually couldn't find the work, and you're going to see why. We'll get the work maybe tomorrow. She'll send me the link. So this work here came in second, and she just minted a few weeks ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, the first time on Object, and here she is second, and there were 2,000 entries into this contest, so a huge triumph. And then the triumph was supposed to continue, because Claire Silver then bid 1.5 ETH on her work. However, as a lot of people saw this weekend, unfortunately, she was scammed. A person faking to be Eile messaged Claire Silver. I was messaged by a fake profile pretending to be one of the winners. This is a copycat profile of the winner. I didn't pay enough attention and bid the prize on their foundation mint. So this scammer took the image and then created a fake profile on foundation and then messaged Claire Silver. 1.5 ETH stuck in auction. So 24 hours to feel bad about getting scammed. So one of the sad parts of this space, you really see in this story, kind of like all the good and all the bad of this space, don't you? You see the promise, which is here, Eile is minting 2 weeks ago and then coming in second and getting a bit of a 1.5 ETH on her work. And then you see the scammer it turned out to be the person who gets all the money. $2,500, 1.5 ETH. So that is brutal. And so you got to feel for Eile, and here's her response. I'm very upset a scammer has created a fake page that Claire Silver bid on unknowingly. I reported the page to Foundation, messaged Foundation help, but what else can be done? It's not right, and I want her ETHs returned. There has to be a remedy in place. Does anyone know? Yeah, in the crypto world, it's pretty much a one-way street. So there are no remedies, unfortunately, other than maybe an open edition is put together. And I was thinking, who knows? And in a sense, none of my business really, but maybe the work gets sent to Claire, and then there's a bit of a fundraiser or something, and then everybody puts in $20, and then you get 100 people putting in $20, and you basically have your money, something like that. Who knows? So she is kind of just. I was sort of saying maybe just chill for a couple of days and just see how things fall out here. And I don't know. So anyways, if anybody has any ideas or wants to do anything or whatever the case is, want to help somehow, feel free to leave a comment or message Eile. But sad to see her triumph was kind of robbed from her. So that is brutal. So shout out to Eile and congratulations. Let's not miss the forest for the trees here. You almost won that contest and you came in second, and that is massive. Okay. That's massive. That is the promise of this space as well. Jerry Saltz so a lot of you know Jerry Saltz. I think we could call him the most famous art critic in the world. Works for New York Magazine. His wife is, a very connected sort of New York situation. His wife is Roberta Smith, who is the co-editor of the art section in the New York Times. So very connected. So he put out this tweet on the weekend. I think he was looking for engagement or something. I don't know. The blockchain will be, not maybe, but will be, so a grand statement here, technically obsolete and inaccessible, within 12 years. So it seems to me that he is simply trying to basically troll and get some engagement here, which, and so in my opinion, I mean, it's a little unbecoming of a 71-year-old to be basically, trolling, people from all over the world that come from poor countries who are finally able to sell their art and even make some money. And that's not even to mention the beauty and the stunning innovation that we're seeing, like we saw in that first work there. Stunning innovation. Let's all just dismiss it and say with a troll comment, that this is all going to be obsolete. So again, you're dealing with a very establishment voice. And I mean, I think this is just the reality. I mean, what's the takeaway here is, in a sense, like the establishment doesn't care about you. Because if he did, he'd be more concerned with trying to raise people up with his, prominence. He could make a lot of careers here happen. Instead, I mean, I was looking at the reviews. He's discussing the latest, show at David's Werner, like how predictable. And now he's kind of trolling, people from poor countries who are selling their works for $2 and often great works. And so anyways, I just think I want to just touch on this just because I think it's like we want to deal with reality here. And so it's important that we just kind of know what people are saying and just kind of have a sense of what's going on out there. And again, like you see, like the tweets here, artists always confront things you can't avoid, otherwise they will confront you. Artists, color. I mean, I haven't seen a single work of art by jerrysaltz. And he's even got a book on how to be an artist. And like, I was thinking to myself, this is like if I wrote a review on Trustpilot saying this person is, a good plumber, having never done plumbing in my life, and then I'm putting out tweets saying, plumbers, you should do this. You should always use this kind of pipe. And, like that's what this feels like to me. Artists, do this. Artists, think this way. Think that way. As if, like, I haven't seen a single work of art by him. Okay, this is the problem with art reviewers. I'm not an art critic, by the way, and I am not an art reviewer, and I know people say that, and I get it, so I just kind of let it go. I'm an artist that talks about things that interest me. I'm not here to say this is good or this is bad. Okay, well, I'll say this is exciting and good, sure, but I'm not here to dismiss anything. I'm here to go like, isn't this amazing? This is literally an artist journal. And yes, it is based mostly on digital art that we find within the, blockchain digital art crypto space, because that's what's most exciting to me. I mean, if there are more exciting things, theoretically, this show could change. But right now, we're kind of all over this. So all to say, I'd take it with a grain of salt. And yeah, like this is just the reality that we're all facing. So to me, the real takeaway is to actually be quite grateful, despite the scammers and the naysayers. A lot of us, like, what chance has jerrysaltz given you, dear artist? But what opportunity has the blockchain given you? Where you can go mint on object. Anybody who has the technical ability to watch this program can go mint on the blockchain right now. Anybody. Okay, with a little bit of research, you can figure out how to get the right wallet, leave a comment, I'll tell you how, we've done it in the past, and, nothing is stopping you to have a global audience, okay? So is jerrysaltz going to offer that to you? So anyways, I don't want to make too much of really what's probably just a troll and him having fun, but I think it kind of illustrates something that I think we need to be aware of. It's sort of like, yeah. So anyways, back to people who are being helpful. Look at this. Uczine, a very helpful individual. NovoArtShow, we're happy to reveal our next artist who contributed an amazing piece of art for the GoFundNovo collection. Let's welcome Uczine. So here it is, and a cool work, kind of half abstract, but not quite, because it almost looks like a face here. Almost with noun glasses, with his beautiful distortions that he's done here, and the flashing images. Insane, says Dr. Crypto. Yeah, so Uczine is awesome. And I'm I looked at what NovoArtShow is. I'm not quite sure. Showcase of artists who joined together for GoFundNovo. I'm not quite sure what the fund is for or whatever, but it sounds like a good cause. Also, Uczine helping out Tez vending NFTs from the looks of it. I mean, we saw a tweet earlier that there might be an Uczine piece in the vending machine. And now vending NFTs, this looks like it's perhaps done by Uczine, this image here, because I see his colors. And as Rare was saying, Uczine, question mark. So anyway, things could get pretty interesting at the Tez vending machine. And also, while we're on Uczine, there is a bot, the Uczine sales bot. So that is pretty cool too. Pretty fun to watch, actually. And you see the open edition. I mean, I think he sold those for 0.03 and now they're selling for 0.09. So a 3x for those investors. So some people are making money from the open editions. And finally, on the traveling through the mediums front here, look at this pen plotter. And it's kind of, I assume these are both going at the same time. I'm not quite sure. This looks like a marker here. I mean, this looks like a little bit more industrial strength pen plotter to me, actually. Getting ready for the vernissage tonight. Maybe there will be some live plotting. Schwittlick. So maybe this is a German person I follow. Anyways, I just thought it looks like you could almost do bitmap with these things. I'm sure you could if you make it big enough. So anyways, I just thought that was kind of stunning and interesting. And I'm kind of back. Here's Tito.png, luncheon art. I'm back to this mobile art situation and how it's significant. I'm just back to the significance of being able to walk anywhere, go to a cafe, and do your work. The portable studio. This is significant. So here's another example, courtesy of Tito. And continuing on, another massive image here from our friend Santiago, and he sold for an ETH here. So we looked at this image a few weeks ago when it was minted, and now it has sold. He put a reserve of 1 ETH, and it sold to Bat Soup Yum for 1 ETH this weekend. So big congrats to Santiago. And here's another work by Santiago explaining the different ways of having an argument to visitors from outer space using earrings that are other little creatures. So you almost wonder if that's a prompt or something. 11 colors PNG, stable diffusion, GIMP, and Inkscape. So all sorts of mayhem involved in this abstract work here. It does look, I mean, 11 colors, you could screen print this thing. I guess there's two different kinds of screen print inks you can use, by the way. There's gouache. I mean, maybe there's more, just as far as I understand. The two most common is gouache, and you'd probably do this with gouache because you can kind of see through it more. Gouache, I think that's more just like a lighter sort of color. And then, of course, you can use acrylic paint, which is a little bit more opaque and maybe a little trickier for mixing colors, but good if you want just a solid color to block things out. Anyways, that's sort of what that makes me think of. Edition of 15, buy for 33, so sold out on primary. Also, one of our digital abstract artists here, Yuri J, with some really nice work on exchange art on Solana. And again, just very interesting experimentation on this one and nice colors and just a lot going on. This sold for 4 Sol, which is $100 now. And so remember Sabato in, I think on a Twitter Spaces a few weeks ago was saying how Solana is kind of good for its abstract expressionists. Is known a little bit for its abstract expressionism. So maybe this is why Yuri J mints this, and there seems to be a market for it as well. So very cool. Ed Marola with an interesting one of one, Tego Castle, again playing with these kind of blurred out pixels here, and just kind of an interesting, strange piece, but so clearly Ed, and with these, the pinks and the purples and everything, and again, the blurry pixels. So just an interesting one of one, still available for 55 Tezos, Tego Castle. And here's another one. This also sold for 55 to District 468 and a nice kind of widescreen. And again, kind of interesting, more kind of buildings and stuff, and kind of where the city seems to meet nature here. This almost looks like it could be a wheat field, and this strange patterned sky. So just more mysterious work, really. And this signpost in the middle of nowhere and this strange thing. And is this lightning or vines? What is this? You know, is this city nerves? Are these nerves of the city? Totally mysterious, isn't it? So continuing on. Authentic waffles. So the waffle situation. So he is back to calling himself Authentic Waffles, and he actually is attesting this. I am attesting that this Twitter handle, hasdrubalwaffle, is linked to the Tezos account over here. So now he is attesting. So he is back to being hasdrubalwaffle. And I'm actually pretty glad because I quite like those artworks I bought that say authentic or hasdrubalwaffles. I love that name. But anyway, so it keeps on being interesting with the idea over here. Interesting work, isn't it? Kind of funny in a dark way. I mean, you have a two-headed person, and that's not really. I think that actually happens to people. So it's not really a source of where we need to start laughing. But he's kind of got a humorous situation here where one is smoking and the other is unhappy about that. So, anyways, interesting as always. Neat 105. So more. A two-headed PFP. Maybe that's the whole thing. Here's another two-headed PFP. So maybe, again, playing with the PFP structure, right? And using that template and then just playing with it where it's like, well, which is this the identity? Who knows? This guy's got a ponytail. And yeah, so anyways. And I'm not sure. These may be taken from pop culture. Not sure. And this one has a bit of an isolationist feel to it, doesn't it? And he was bidding on some of these works. There's a nice expressionist feeling to a lot of these works by hasdrubalwaffle or Authentic Waffles. And you see it here, in the face. It really reminds me of Max Becker, German expressionist work. Shall we look really quickly? Max Becker, German expressionismus. And let's just see if we find anything. Well, nothing too special here. Let's see. You get a tiny taste for it here. We want to keep these shows short. We'll return to this. Maybe I'm thinking of a different German expressionist, but I think of Max Becker. And, even in the colors, but I don't see that intensity here. Hasdrubal is more intense than Max Becker. And here's another one. With more just kind of odd sort of body disfigurements here. Neat 106. And anyway, very well put together piece here. I assume Mario Paint. I don't know if he's using a different software in the background as for this face in the foreground or the head, but interesting. And again, that kind of gradient frame here. So always interesting. Flora Marquez. We continue to see her evolution here. She's adding another color. And so it's going to be very interesting to see where these go. It's always fun to watch the progress of an artist, and it looks like she's just doing a daily sketch here, one of ones. I think this was sent to someone, so maybe it was a commission or the person paid ahead of time or just a gift. Anyway, now we have two colors. So this is from February 5th, so it just continues to be very interesting here. Here's another illustration, this time by Nalta. And I think we've looked at Nalta's work before, so kind of a bit of a, Japanese screen sort of feel, but pretty different and pretty modern. So very interesting. Continuing on, Rossetio, and big shout out to Rossetio for sending me that Duchamp, is this a Duchamp moment piece, remix, really, of one of her works there. So that was a great gift, beautiful, on ETH too. And Rossetio's work isn't cheap, so that was a really nice gift. The Tranquility of a Floating Cactus, so new work on object here, so going multi-chain here. And this is digital collage and digital drawing. After the artwork is sold out, one random collector of this piece will be airdropped an edition of the next artwork in the series. So playing with the mechanics a little bit. Another very, very, very odd work from Adi-Woody, Baby Pepe. And so this looks like Adi-Woody as is justice or liberty or something. I'm not sure. It's not the Virgin Mary. This is kind of like a different, almost like early American kind of figure, it feels like here. I'm not sure who the exact figure is. Interesting composition. So interesting. No clues here. And also, we have One Don't Know's Chaos Under the Pure Light. And I just wanted to show, this was tweeted out, so maybe it's not a newer work, but I'd never seen it before. And I just want to show like how much work goes into a One Don't Knows. Like you see the tattoo here, and you see the eye, and then like it's all over. Then this figure is put in, and then this figure over here, and then these figures over here, and then like, you know, more, and then tattoos on the arm, more figures. There is just an enormous amount of work that gets put into this. And even the stretching here is quite interesting. Reminiscent, is it Cranach, who has the stretching skull? You know, that very famous painting? We'll take a very quick look here, and you see here, and just more figures and everything. So all the work that goes into One Don't Knows, let me just see if it's Cranach's skull. If it's not, we'll have to move on. But if it is, maybe we'll look stretch skull painting. If you don't know this painting, I'm sure we'll find it here. Yeah, who is this? Hans Holbein. Look at this. So this is Google Arts and Culture. Look at this skull here. You see that? I mean, this is a very famous painting. And I think maybe if you look from a certain angle, maybe in the room, it starts to line up and look correct. So just a wild, wild famous painting in the history of art. So Hans Holbein. Let's just see what the title is. The Ambassadors. Do they mention this? In the foreground is the distorted image of a skull, a symbol of mortality. When seen from a point to the right of the picture, the distortion is corrected. Exactly, so just playing with perspective a little bit there, and the viewer. Continuing on, so this was another kind of interesting, edgy kind of image. This is called Airplane Accident, and I'm not even sure who the artist is. I found this on Twitter, and we'll see if we can find the artist here, but I thought it was just a really interesting subject matter. I mean, it's something we all kind of, a lurking fear at the back of our mind. Interesting rendition, like pretty rough. I'm not sure what to make of this. And so I'm not sure who the artist is. Unique and special NFTs. It may just be like, I don't know. I'm not sure what this is, but I thought it was interesting. Yeah, just Airplane Accident. And there's different editions. I don't know what's going on. It might even be a scam, so be careful out there, everyone. But maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyway, interesting work from Dan Control. Tower. So, you know, again, a very edgy decision here to show something like this. Like, who would imagine that this would be your subject matter? And of course, he had done, I believe, one of these plastic chairs that are quite famous. I mean, very pop subject matter here. And so he kind of combined, you know how he's been multiplying a lot of his works and just doing variations on these works and then say, okay, I'll put a bunch of chairs. This is quite brilliant, though, because this is a situation you might actually see, is these chairs being stacked up together. So I thought that one was particularly interesting. It is sold out. And let's quickly just look at the market here. Yeah, for 4 Tezos, let's see how quickly it went. It went basically after maybe, you know, less than 12 hours, and that sold for 4, an edition of 20. So there you go, plastic chairs on land. A new one from Dan Control, rustic digital art with a new one too, The Dance of the Vultures. And so you see the Crop Mario monochrome, or in desaturated, and then you see other Crop Marios circling it. So the saga continues with rustic digital art in the cloud period and the wild kind of irrationality, buy for 6, edition of 15. And KurtHustle Collective, KHC, with a new one, HustleBay, bid now, earn more, see it all, call now, 1-900-1997-900. So anyways, kind of a play on eBay and consumerism, I assume. Buy now. So interesting, edition of 7, now available on secondary for 1,997 Tezos. Let me go back here. A new one from Native Ed, Inside Culture 3 times. So there is a lot of information here, and it looks like it contains a lot of, here's the list of CCO artworks included. Degas, Schiller. So interesting. So he's got a person watching all these screens and a whole bunch of copyright-free works in the TVs. So very interesting here. And yeah, that looks like a Cézanne or something. Maybe that's a Van Gogh desaturated. Anyways, very interesting. And there, of course, is Caravaggio, the boy being bitten by a lizard. And so anyways, interesting work from Native Ed. And then, just staring at our screens here, again, speaks to the moment. And look at this. Here's the code. So I'm not sure if this is made with JavaScript or what. It is a GIF. It's 30 megabytes. Interesting. So buy for 2, edition of 100. Interesting work. And also, this is from Chimparliament. Unlimited supply, open edition, 3 pieces work, including this, burn 2 every following. So I'm not sure if this is our guy, the Blade Runner office. It really feels that way, but there are a lot of artists that do similar work of things that succeed. So I'm not sure if this is the same artist, but I thought it was kind of interesting and kind of fit well with Native Ed there. Anyway, continuing on, Haiti Rocket with a new work here. Let's just expand this. This is on Teia, resulting on object here. Let's see if we can get a proper loop here. And so kind of a newer series from Haiti Rocket here. So just kind of interesting to follow. Playing with these 3-dimensional structures here. Users, interesting title, Metascape 1.0, edition of 69, buy for 13. So 4 more left on primary here. So interesting. And yeah, minted on Teia there. Now this is from Strano. Apparently this is his Genesis. And look at the amount of money. 10, stateless, won the auction for 10. So Strano, inverse. So this went for a lot of money, $16,000. And so just interesting piece here. Kind of rectangle, I guess, with people falling into this rectangle of light. So kind of half abstract. Interesting piece, inverse. Humans as machines, machines as humans, no turning back, we're in too deep. So pretty impressive sale there. Minted just on the 2nd. And Xerox, D's, Stateless, Eli Traders. So some pretty well-known collectors in there. So congrats on that one. Slave Angel with a new one, which is kind of funny. A skeleton, I mean, this could be us, any of us, drinking some wine, looking at the financial charts, and then just on his landscape, or her on his beach chair, or her beach chair, drinking a bottle of wine on the veranda here. Unknown omen, will it attract money or will he lose everything? Speaking to the financial culture of this whole art scene, which I don't mind at all. I love financial markets, so I kind of like that about this scene, which is not typical. I mean, in the Berlin art scene, if you're like, I like financial markets, it's not really seen the same way. It's not really seen as a super positive. Continuing on, Nico P with another JavaScript work here, as far as I understand, JavaScript walnut trunk. So anyway, I just thought kind of interesting here to see these JavaScript experiments. And one from Atmo. Remember, he is the guy, Atmones, who does the flying car, the cyberpunk work. Really, really great artist. So, yeah, let's see what he says here. I love creating HUDs for my artwork, Health Tech Watcher. So again, just in love with these UIs, user interfaces, these digital UIs. I'm a big fan of UIs as well. Like, often I pay very close attention to sports, to how like the graphics, like every year, like I'm more interested in that in the NFL than in the actual gameplay, the production and just the graphics and everything. And anyway, here kind of speaks to that same love of graphics and UIs, user interfaces. Koda Neka Zono with another interesting piece. So mixing video in with the pixels and the organic shapes in the foreground. Just interesting work, right? I mean, it looks like it belongs in an art gallery. Very small resolution, 540 by 675, 120 frames. And it is a GIF, buy for 20 on secondary from Acid Soup, edition of 11. Nice piece. And a work from John, who also, like Flora, seems to be putting out daily works. And here is John in the studio here. And the skeleton seems to be painting the plant here and doing the still life. So kind of self-referential. And then the pizza box here. And this almost becomes the subject matter of the painting that we're looking at, or the digital art piece. So the artist in the studio, February 5th, 2023, finishing touches. And look at the offers here. So, and it's probably, even more since I loaded this up. So huge following there for John Stalomir, the guy who does the very wild, alien-like pixel art landscapes. What is this called? And you see the alien writing here. What is this called? Trade floor. So again, this kind of really wild, creative pixel art here. So looks like it's inside of the building, this building here. Kind of looks like the inside, doesn't it? And we remember this guy from this fantastic work here and this fantastic work. So just a really interesting artist. And Nicholas Dietrich with a very nice piece here. I picked this up. And again, you see the dithering in the background. Just a beautiful kind of, I want to call it semi-abstract, but it's not. It almost looks like a bar here. And lamps, every memory you ever had is still in there somewhere. Sometimes you only realize your references afterwards, so a bit mysterious. So someone left a message, and I'll get to the YouTube comments tomorrow. I forgot to bring those up. When you have ×2 here, by 240 by 10 by 2, that means it's double the resolution. So maybe that's what's going on here. 240 pixels squared by 10. So maybe that's 2400. I think it's all still getting worked out, how we write these things, it seems to me. Muji, now we looked at this work before, but Muji actually sent a message and was saying it was great to be compared to Sabato, because he loves Sabato's work. And what he was saying is the reason it looks a little bit similar is I'm using deluxe paint as well. So that is why you get these kind of cycling gradients here. But I mean, totally his own thing. So anyways, thanks for the message, Muji. And yeah, I love Sabato too. And so anyways, they could definitely hang in the same room, couldn't they? Humble plant. So a new one from Sabato. Always a surprise what he's going to do. And the branches here are pink, and the leaves, I mean, these pixelated, I guess they're leaves. I don't even know. And almost like this latest pattern here on the ground. I guess these are tiles. And so I'm still figuring out what those are. An animation exercise. I don't know what these are. These almost look like metallic things growing out of the plant. I'm sure there's a story here. Anyway, very interesting as usual from Sabato. Etzo. How are we doing? Okay, going to run through the rest of this episode, guys. Etzo with a whole bunch of fantastic work, as usual. Very productive this weekend. So beautiful, again, kind of 70s, future telephone table. Again, I'm back to that term, space age 70s. Let's just see what this went for. 200 to Weary Squirrel back on the scene. Shout out to Weary Squirrel. This was an awesome one. I believe I got one of these. Yeah, edition of 30, future chair. And it's like an egg, the stunning egg-shaped chair. So anyway, super duper rich here as usual from Etzo. And then we have a future bed. So I love how he can just make so many different versions. Like he can just, from a business perspective, I love this business. Sold for $150 at auction. And here we have a chair edition of 25. And people, I get offers. Like if I buy one, I'll get offers, like 2 or 3 offers later for like double or triple. So very strong market for Etzo. Future chair 5, and it looks great. And I love these grays in the background. Something about it. Sky Goodman, Adi-Max-Remi-Ix highs. And actually Sky Goodman, I should have brought it up, maybe I will next time. I will try and remember. He put out a big tweet thread on his process, and we should go through that at some point. So anyways, a new work in the Lost Sneaker series, which uses AI and other techniques and exports. So good looking colors there and everything. Benta. So this was minted. Look at this. So I believe this is AI end painting. It says Venta times AI. So glad to see Venta back on the AI tip, because Venta really put together what I consider to be a fairly unique style in AI. And now it's moving nicely. Look at how great this looks. And Venta also has some really great digital painting. So Kickball. So that's a pretty fun subject too, like uncommon subject. Sold for 0.18 ETH. So not bad at all, like $350 probably. Yoain will be releasing a limited edition of my Phosphyrol piece this weekend. If you want to be whitelisted, please write your address below. First come, first serve, priced at 0.069 ETH. So interesting. So a open edition from Yoain with a slightly different look to it in the spiral. Look at this. This is Scandal with a really interesting, I believe this is AI, and really nice muted colors here and just a nice big composition. So again, this would show really nicely in the same room as actually Mr. Shapeless, just in its kind of grandiosity. Listed for 0.35 ETH on Foundation. So that looks great. Nostalgia. Continuing on. Strange Thing with a new work. Supreme Collector, airdrop to one-of-one holders, and also saving a few for future one-of-one holders. So a pretty cool new work on Object from Strange Thing. Looks pretty raw AI-ish, from like even the paintings inside are raw AI. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of Photoshop, who knows? Doesn't really matter. This is composed of AI elements. And you see the little Banksy tribute here at the bottom. So anyways, I think just a really interesting original work by Strange Thing, really well executed, actually, as usual. And finally, we got a couple of the AI artists who uses kind of like the stitching look. Lonely Traveler, that was a great track, actually, in techno. Can't remember what the name of the artist was. That was a fun track in the 90s. Anyways, so just a new work from Greg Velichka. And here's another one, Ilya Muvda. So are these different artists? Okay, no, the artist is Ivano Muvda, okay, not Greg. And Greg is posting this beautiful work. And here is Ilya Muvda and posting their own work, Battle of the Demigods. So again, working with this kind of raw AI stitching. So very interesting. A work by Mr. Shapeless, Watcher of the Night. Gorgeous kind of grand work here. Again, with our Wanderer looking on in the multi-moon sky here. Beautiful, beautiful work. And a work by Shirley Preston, a poorly drawn portrait of Prince Charles. So he's got a whole series of bad pencil drawings that he self-called, or that he calls bad pencil drawings. And here's a bad Prince Charles. Some more royals for you here today. It almost looks like it's based on an AI, doesn't it? So interesting. Edition of 8, buy for $350. And here's just a really cool artist I found on Instagram, Bruno Miguel Studio. And yeah, look at this. I mean, you gotta love how this looks. So this is physical painting, acrylic and oil, I believe, and maybe some spray. I'm not sure what it says there. And yeah, I mean, just gorgeous, right? And you see the contrast here of this is almost like, reminds me of academic painting. You see all these sepias and browns underneath. That is how you build a academic, a 19th century painting. This is, or old master style painting. You start with the sepias and the browns and you kind of build up. And then you see, once you put the color on top, then it starts to feel really rich. Okay, so it kind of builds this strong foundation. Now, of course, what Bruno Miguel is doing here is he's kind of applying the academic technique, and then doing a very untraditional way of painting, and then leaving a non-finito, and only does basically certain areas. So pretty cool. I think it just looks fantastic here. And that is his style, and I think it's awesome. And there is the artist. And interesting, like Saint Sebastian reference there. So there he is. There he is. Interesting artist. I mean, new discoveries all the time out here. And that is your show. Thank you for joining me, everyone. And until next time, take care.